Welcome to another Founder Wisdom Pod with Arjun Mishra. He is an NGO director at NABET India. We're going to talk about social entrepreneurship today. This pod is brought to you by podbuyer.com. If you want to start, scale, be invited to podcasts like this one. So podbuyer.com for my podcasting agency. Arjun, can you tell me a bit more about yourself and NABET?
Sure. I run an organization that creates employment for persons with disabilities, and this is based in IMT Manesar in Gurgaon. It's in the NCR of Delhi. It's been in the service of persons with disabilities for the last 13 years, and primarily been involved in finding opportunities of employment, both through outsourced work or through improvised employment for persons with disabilities, and that's been my life mission.
Why did why did that become a life mission for you?
I had a personal story to that, Charles. I had a tragedy in my family where I lost someone who was very special to me, and partly it was to do with a disability. So that was the trigger. There was always the intent to be doing something in the space because I feel that with the right technology and with there's an untapped potential of human resource which the impact can be amplified if they're given the right guidance and the right resources. There's a lot to be discovered there.
Right. And this organization, so that's been your
Sure.
only career, at least the one that I see on your LinkedIn. So you decided to dedicate your full life to that since a decade plus. What have you accomplished in that decade?
It's a lot of things, a lot of things. So the narrative around, I think the biggest achievement, if you ask me, amongst others, is the change in the narrative of the industry that persons with disabilities are worthy just for charity. The now what companies are getting more explorative and identifying what could be more avenues of employment. How can the person's skills, in spite their disability, be looked into, and what kind of jobs can be identified which can be proficiently performed, wherein there are certain wherein, in spite the person's disability, they can deliver better results. And yes, it's been a more than a 13-year journey. You're right in saying that I've dedicated most of my professional life and to be continued in the space only.
What kind of disabilities do you mostly get in the program, and how can they be specifically useful in regards to their disability?
Right. Amongst others, the majority of the candidates who NABIT attends to are persons with visual impairment and persons with orthopedic challenge. So those might have been caused by a combination of either a congenital condition or maybe due to an accident that they lose their vision, or they might develop a disability. Now, what kind of job roles are we looking at? So it's disability specific. So when it comes to contact center operations, or may that be to data entry roles, there a person with visual impairment is more suited. And when it comes to, say, an orthopedically challenged person, apart from other skills, we are also trying to identify roles in the retail segment, in the hospitality segment, where a person, in spite his disability, can contribute proficiently. And something which is centric to our initiative or our efforts is that we need to create resources who are not only proficient but are competitive in what they deliver. So when it comes to a person who is non-disabled, the company which is hiring such resources should not see any difference in productivity. So that's where the training which we conduct is so in depth that the graduating batch of students can proudly and confidently declare themselves to be as competitive as their non-disabled counterparts.
Right. So let's say that they have visual impairment, right?
Sure.
You put them in a call center, they can take the calls if they know where the
Mhm.
buttons are. Why wouldn't
Sure.
people hire them with these disabilities? Is it like way more work to employ such a person? Wouldn't that person have sort of a chip on their shoulders and want to perform more? Why are people not hiring people with disabilities?
So that's a great question, Charles, because if we talk about the statistically, what are the kind of numbers we're looking at? Just to give you the context of the problem which we have at hand, and I speak just for India, the problem would be as amplified in in other parts of the globe too. We have a plus 25 million disabled population, of which safely more than 80% are unemployed, and for the rest, the remainder 20%, there is excessive dependence only on government jobs. Uh, can there be roles in the private sector which can be identified and explored? Of course, they can be. Where is the challenge? It's to do primarily with the mindset. It's to do with the attitude towards disability for all stakeholders, not only for the persons with disabilities. So, what happens is people have this misconception that there will be a drop in productivity if a person with disability is hired. The other misconception also is, which is actually not true, it's to do with the advent of technology. Productivity uh, would not be compromised even if a person with disability is doing the jobs. And not only in contact center operations, I'm just giving you the bulk hires that happens to be in call center operation. We're also working in a space called accessibility testing, which is compliance requirements both in it's already there in the West. It's now coming up in India too, wherein all digital assets, may that be websites or content or applications, have to be made accessible, so that if I'm a person with disability, a low vision or a colorblind person, I should have the same experience using the application as you, who may not be a person with disability. So we provide accessibility testing services also, and it's also being performed by persons with disabilities.
Right. And what are your top three goals for this year? What are you focusing on?
So it's to do with a combination of things. We have just started a new merchandising business, which is basically into creating garments, RNGs, ready-made garments, and home furnishing items run primarily by persons with disabilities. So as of now, I'm trying to solve the puzzle of finding work orders for this production unit. So that's something which which is taking most of my attention. Then we're also growing into other geographies. We're trying to expand the impact and make it more accessible for persons with disabilities in other parts of the country too. So that's the second goal. And of course, it's an unending dream to keep serving and with more solutions the community which is dear to me, which is the persons with disabilities, and trying to increase the number of employments generated. So that's the overarching theme.
And I see the website, you accept donations here. Do you accept PayPal and classic payment method? Because yeah, like the bank account might be complicated for a bunch of people, especially outside of India.
So the challenge which has happened now, Charles, is that PayPal has stopped operations in India. So that's one of the problems. But then there's Stripe and there are other solutions too. Um, uh, the other part of it is, of course, we are trying to integrate a payment solution, but I feel it's more convenient if a person first speaks to us, reaches out to us, understands more about the cause, and then makes a donation. I feel that's uh, a better way rather than just a plain vanilla donation coming in. So I have actually intentionally not had a payment solution as of now. I want a person to first be convinced and then participate.
Right. Just that at the stage of the bank account payment, you'd lose me, like I wouldn't want me. I'd prefer just a donate button or,
Hmm.
GoFundMe campaign. And I think you'd get like way more payments just by that. Um, now at this point in time in the company, how do you distinguish yourself from other nonprofits that are out there?
Oh, so that's something I'm grateful for you to bring that question up, because that was something which was what's where NABIT is very unique is that we have a component of sustainability, which is the essence of how we function. So it's not only donation dependent. It's not something which, if grants, God forbid, do not come in a particular year, the operations would cease. We have a flourishing IT service unit wherein we are serving Indian MNCs via a combination of contact center and accessibility testing roles. Apart from that, there are new set of products and services which are also in there. So the bottom line is this: that if grants go dry, uh, at best the growth will be impeded, but the sustenance of the program will not be threatened. I can safely quote that that's something which not many NGOs internationally, and I don't say just for India, can quote with confidence.
If I one day become eye blind and want to continue
Sure.
running my business on a computer, like what does it look like? Is it a software guiding me where the cursor is vocally? Is there an AI that could assist me? Could I give it like a bunch of voice command and still have somewhat of the same efficiency I have with my eyes today?
So here's the thing: there's a software which is by the name of JAWS, which is Jobs Access with Speech, which was launched way back by a company called Freedom Scientific. So the experience is quite similar if you have used Google Map, maybe to drive down from one place to another. Just like you have a talkback feature, which translates the locations into speech. Similarly, for a person who is visually impaired, whatever's written on the screen uh, is translated from words, from text to speech. And a person with visual impairment, say, suppose I turned blind the next day, I would hear that speech and decipher what's written. Now, does it involve some training? Of course, it does. And with more frequent use, the pace at which you decipher the information increases. So that's where the training component of the NGO becomes so important. That making yourself comfortable and conforming to using this tool is what we train individuals with. And with pace, they almost get at par or even better at times with their non-disabled counterparts to read through the information or conditions. The condition is that it does not help you if there's an image on the screen. So it won't be able to differentiate what that image is. And that's the need where we speak from the point of accessibility, which is have alternate text to images if you upload them to your website, and amongst other accommodations, also ensure that it's compliant to standards which are internationally accepted on accessibility, which is acronymed as W3C standards. So if you are W3C compliant, if your website is W3C compliant, uh, more often than not, a person with visual impairment would not find a challenge navigating through your site.
You've been granted a US fellowship. How did that go, and why did you get it?
Okay, so this was back in the year 2017, and this fellowship was offered by the US government. Yes, it was an exchange program between the Indian government and the US government. It's called the Pro Fellowship, and I got to spend time for close to 45 days, 45 days in the University of Oklahoma. It's a state which is close to Texas in the US, and I started social entrepreneurship there. I uh, was also part of a fellow was also part of an internship rather with a local NGO in the US. So why was it a great learning experience? Was because for the very first time I saw that at scale, NGOs there had a very defined and very structured beyond charity model of sustenance, and that was something which was a very big attraction. And I felt globally that should be the trend. Um, the other thing was that what I noticed was that the federal government was also procuring products and services from local NGOs. In a way, the government's direction was also in line to uh, forward forward sustainability rather than charity as the model of the future. And I believe that's the learning for other governments too across the globe to try and associate with NGOs with a similar model.
Last but not least, Arjun, where can we find out more about you?
You can read up on it on Google. I have been fortunate to have been a part of multiple fellowships. I have also been a part of, I did my fellowship from the Do School in Berlin. God has been kind. I've got to participate in both internationally and domestically in various programs which have helped me develop as a social entrepreneur. And of course, if somebody would want to learn more, I'm always up for a cup of coffee, beer, tea, whatever possible, whenever time. And if you're in India or your guests are in India.
There you go. And I'm Charles Cormier. That was another founder at wisdompodcast.com.